I thank the permanent representative of the plurinational state of Bolivia for his statement. I now give the floor to His Excellency Xavier Lasso Mendoza, permanent representative of Ecuador to the United Nations.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sam Kutese, President of the General Assembly, also Mrs. Susana Malcoro, the Deputy Secretary General, and Ambassador, my friends, Sasha Llorenti, Permanent Representative of Bolivia. I would also like to begin by expressing my profound solidarity for with the people of Nepal. Basically, the roof of the world in combating this tragedy caused by nature. Distinguished panelists, those in attendance, humanity is at a crossroads, and its commitment to the adoptions of patterns of production and consumption that are sustainable, and this is contingent on its existence. The deterioration of the poverty, hunger, disease, illiteracy, and the increase in pressure on the elements of nature caused by the need to maintain anachronistic levels of economic growth, combined with the unregulated interference of corporations and transnational corporations, has determined a clear imbalance in sustainable developments. And here, if we add to this the pressure caused by productive economies and structures of the developing countries to grant and consolidate the priority of access to goods and services for their people, and the desire to ensure a reliable and prosperous future for coming generations, this is still very far away. In Ecuador, since 2008, our constitution envisages recognition of the rights of nature, something which goes beyond the traditional concept of the various elements of nature as natural resources for free exploitation, towards the harmonious integration of planet Earth. This recognition means for Ecuador a permanent transformation structurally, with a view to achieving a good life, summa causa, a conception that comes from the holistic vision of our ancestral peoples. And this is the basis for the rights and responsibilities of all. From this perspective, Ecuador believes that these elements can and should enrich the agenda for development following 2015, with the experience in implementing our national strategy for equality and the eradication of poverty, identifying the causes from a political, gender, and pluralistic perspective, and not just technically, to transform current relations of power by strengthening economic justice to the detriment of the assistance perspective for development. In this connection, the questioning modification of the current world regimen for the accumulation of power and resources is essential. It is necessary to dissociate the corporational visions and public institutions in order to ensure the rights and collective rights and guarantees, and place the human being as the main capital. Humanity is ready to reverse poverty and inequality, environmental degradation, and to reduce the reduction of biological diversity and the exacerbation of anthropogenic climate change. For this reason, every country, depending on its own context and from a global context, must establish its own goals to ensure a dignified life for its people and the preservation and sustainable use of the elements of nature. Only in this way can the world goals be achieved. The lack of development is, first and foremost, a political problem, and designing a world agenda should therefore identify and deal with the political and structural causes that make it impossible to achieve this. The traditional financial systems in the world have worked together on the existence of a model based on limited growth, unsustainable patterns of production and consumption, lacks of the kind of market which recognizes external and negative and environmental factors and overlooks the biophysical limits of the planet. There exists inequality with the emission of carbon dioxide by individual of the planet. 20% of those are those producing these gases are responsible for 60% of these emissions. The proposal for a green economy based on the restoration of the idea of natural capital as an economic asset does not transcend the economistic vision of nature as a factor of production based on the accumulation and economic growth. In order to reverse the high indices of environmental degradation, it is essential to transcend the Western values sustained by domination and indiscriminate exploitation of nature. Ecuador favors the principle of common but differentiated responsibility, recognizing the historic ecological debt of the countries of the North vis-à-vis the countries of the South. In addition, proposed the establishment of an avoidable net emissions mechanism referring to the level of greenhouse gases of a country as a result of mining and productive activities which could be achieved and could have been avoided. For this reason, Ecuador is looking forward to the debate and the negotiations on the post-2015 agenda, where the international community will consider including the following guidelines: universal recognition of the rights of nature and mechanisms to guarantee compliance, recognition of the principles of environmental justice, ecological debt, common but differentiated responsibility, and a solidarity with countries which are more vulnerable to natural disasters as a result of climate change. The sovereign and sustainable management of natural patrimony, the right of people to a healthy and economically balanced environment, the real value of women in the conservation and sustainable use of nature through mechanisms for community and associative compensation, the promotion of a matrix for energy generation of renewable sources, the adoption of patterns of production and consumption that are sustainable, and the preservation and restoration of the ecology through the transfer of technologies and appropriate research in order to carry this out. The elaboration and consolidation of environmental indicators at a global level which reflect the value of natural regeneration of the ecosystems within the biophysical limits of the planet. Lastly, we believe that it is appropriate to quote the academic and naturalist of the United States, Aldo Leopold, who said, "The preservation is a state of harmony between man and his land. Harmony with land is harmony like harmony with a good friend. You cannot use your right hand to feed your left hand." Thank you.